welcome to another episode of Ignite Connections. We're here at the Goa Fest and we are talking to PG Aditya and Mariam. So the idea of this conversation is we want people who work in similar fields across generations to have a dialogue that they might not have in their day-to-day. So in the beginning, I'm just going to ask a few questions, but we'll open it up to the two of you as well. Consider this more of a conversation, to ask whatever was on your mind rather than a more corporate, back and forth. So, since we're in Goa, we can just drop the formalities and get to the questions themselves, right? So, Aditya, I wanted to ask you, you've had, your experience in like this huge agency culture at Web Chutney and now you're building Talented. What is the shift or what do you feel is the need that you are building? Somebody told me that you're building an agency for young people. So is that something that resonates with the work you're doing or what is it about?
Thanks for having me, Anushka. I think very simply, the talent experience in advertising has been quite shit for a long time, and I think Talented is kind of a response to that problem and all of the problems that it's led to. We kind of believe that's also why we're one of the very few employee-owned creative agencies. There's been usually young people have a bad rap with the idea of company loyalty. Like it's quite uncommon to see someone who's spending double-digit years in any company. But I think they're not incentivized, they're in fact disincentivized. In advertising especially, they're disincentivized from kind of doing that because companies have not really figured out a financial model which allows for long-term wealth to happen, right? The tech figured it out by being employee-owned, through ESOPs and skin in the game and stuff like that. That was something in advertising especially. It kind of felt like a no-brainer because we're not part of some large supply chain. It's not like we're building factories. The people cost is literally the biggest cost in the agency, right? So felt like a no-brainer that had to happen. So which is why Talented was set up as an employee-owned agency. So which brings you to you have to ask yourself, therefore, what is your employee value proposition overall? Our belief from all of the conversations and all of the informal research that we did was talent broadly wants 4 things out of a job, especially in our kind of industry. They want access to opportunities for diverse creative work for which they are credited generously, paid fairly without burning out. This is it. These are pretty much the 4 things. Right?
Which kind of feels like the basic assumption that we should have. But that's interesting because you're like, what I got from you is that you're saying you're inspired by tech in having this employee-owned structure. And I've heard that, Talented is also a very flat structure. Do you think that it's only possible because you're based out of Bangalore and away from, the usual spaces that advertising and marketing work in?
Yeah, I think it definitely has a role. Yeah, 100%. The Bangalore's a younger city, therefore it has less baggage. It is also the city which therefore is able to try out. If you're in advertising and if you're in Bangalore, you're probably, sure, there is a culture of advertising in the city that dates back to the 80s, probably, right? But it's not too far before that. So you get to slightly build stuff from scratch, try out new things from scratch. So yeah, I think you're right in that. It is also important that Mumbai alone does not bear the burden of a huge industry like ours. It is important that we don't put that whole burden on one city. That would be very wrong. Okay. And I think I started my career in Mumbai as well. So I think it's a wonderful city with to get a ton of fundamentals right. I think like none of us would think that Bombay does not, or Bombay's role in advertising overall is diminishing, right? So far from it. But it is also true that that because of how long the industry has been over here and thrived over here, it's harder to disrupt. It's harder to be a disruption capital as such, and therefore it's no surprise that the disruption happened through Bangalore.
Yeah. So further just on that, right? Like, since you've been building, since when you first started building Talented, what was a project or client you worked with that gave you this positive signal that, yeah, we're doing things right?
Britannia.
Yeah?
Yeah, they were, over a century-old brand. They signed us on without a pitch. Signed us on basically on the back of our credentials from our previous jobs. And that happened maybe a month or two into starting. We used to work out of a WeWork in Shivaji Nagar. And I think they took a huge bet on us, and hopefully we have been able to give back in terms of it. But a lot goes to them.
Yeah, okay. So I want to open this up now to the two of you, right? So Mariam, can you tell us a little bit about like what you're doing right now and what your experience in Goa Fest has been like?
Okay, so I am currently an MBA student. I'm pursuing it from Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication. It's based out of Lovely in Pune. And I'm just done with my first year. We're in the middle of our summer internships. We got this opportunity through one of our alumni, and he reached out. He told our director that, send some students in, things like that. So here we are. It's actually my first day. So far it's been quite good. As someone who's going to be entering the industry, we're on the cusp of like getting into the whole media zone, right? Opens up a lot of avenues for us to think about what we want to do next, right? So there's an understanding of what's going on in the industry, what's something new, and if there's a career pathway that we can take that's diverse from what's been being done for so many years. So I think that's what I also hope to take away from this event at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, in that diverse career path thing, like I want to ask you, like, just based on, your like classmates and the vibe you get in your college, do you think people are more inclined towards the traditional marketing jobs that have a certain sense of security and a career path, or unconventional, like agencies, maybe like Talented, where it's more about the projects that you do, but then it comes along with this uncertainty of like what is the corporate ladder that you climb up?
So one word I would just mention that has been like used so many times in the last year for us, like through events, through classroom discussions, is authenticity, right? Everyone's looking to be different from the herd and the kind of content that's being produced outside, or the kind of campaigns that we're doing, right? There's one that's going to stand out, and the rest are going to be either a hit or a miss, right? So I think in that scenario and in that thought process, there are a lot of people who would want to probably work with agencies like Talented, etc. There are other factors. There's like a good 30% of the batch that comes with some work experience in diverse industries. So we have a couple of engineers. We have I myself personally have come from a very niche sort of organization. I worked there for 4 years due to like someone giving me a job in COVID, right? So me personally, I would want to look at security because I'm also moving into a different phase in my life, right?
Yeah.
But of course the work also matters. So it completely depends on the person and what their requirements are from the industry, right? So the younger ones who are probably just starting out or have maybe a little bit of work experience, they'd definitely be interested in a place like Talented for sure. Yeah.
Would you say it's more of a 50-50 split?
Yeah, I would
More
say
or
that.
less.
Yes.
Okay. So let's zoom in now to the kind of work experience you've had, the kind of stuff that you do on a day-to-day. Since we are kind of centering this around, generations and phases, so you are Gen Z, would you identify as a millennial?
Hey, this whole thing is some marketer invented thing. Okay, there's generations and all. Like,
Yeah.
what is generation?
I think, see, to me personally, I see generations as what kind of cultural or media, like, milestones you identify with. Like, so my brother's millennial, right? And I grew up on the millennial internet, and I didn't even know Gen Z was a thing. And now I'm coming into this phase. So, something like we talked about, like the millennial pause. It's something that probably young people do, probably older people do, but you identify it because you need these kind of markers through phases, I think especially on the internet. Because the internet is just forever and it's just always going on. So I think it helps people to kind of demarcate and figure out like, okay, what are the differences, what are some similarities, and how do we find common ground? That's how I would define generations. Personally, yes, you kind of figure out on your own, like is this something that's being overdone? I feel, which is why we want to ask these questions too, right? Like there are these standard questions about how, like, or standard statements rather about how like Gen Z is hard to work with, or like they have a different mindset, etc. So we're just trying to get a feel over here of like, does that stand true or not?
What do you think?
So I think it's necessary to sort of segregate generations, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a very small amount of ideas that will appeal to everyone, right? So maybe something that has like an emotional connect, like there's tourism videos that talk about my India or something. That's something that appeals to everyone, right? But when you're doing like fashion content, or there's segregation, right? Like my mother will probably not sit and consume Get Ready with me, and my sister might. She's younger to me, so she might, right? And she might take inspiration from people like tagging different brands, and then there's this whole thing of like following smaller brands, things like that. So there's a lot of overlap, and when we are sort of creating something for the audience to see, we have to identify who it will appeal to, and I think the generation bit helps. It sort of gives us more clarity. That's where we start, right? We do that like segmentation, targeting, positioning. It's like repetitive, and it's something that we've done for years. So these are sort of attributes that help in creating ideas and creating the kind of things that we want people to see. So I think it makes, like, it adds a little bit of relevance to the whole
Aditya,
process.
do you think there's not a value in defining generations or labeling generations?
I mean, there's value in the sense that I think it is. The only thing is, it's a marketer's invention. It's not real. It's just like Santa Claus was a marketer's invention. It wasn't real, right? So I think looking at a 19-year-old and talking to a 19-year-old as a 19-year-old, and a 22-year-old as a 22-year-old, and a 28-year-old as a that fully makes sense. I don't think the group think is too helpful.
Okay.
Because I think as Mariam said, like, or we were talking before the camera started rolling, it's not like everyone in a generation identifies with all of the same values.
Yeah.
You have a spectrum within every, and I'm using the term generation to just help the conversation, right? So there's a spectrum of values within each generation as well, and I think the general, like, I mean, it's almost like you are some it's some labor union type way of looking at it, no? That all of us are all of us. It's not. It's never all of us. It's a lot of us. Sure, and I think some of us might differ from. I mean, I can even amongst people in their 30s right now, there are people who ascribe to the idea of. So I can tell you amongst, let's call them millennials. The jury is very much out there on whether children are good. In, like, if that's how,
Or is
the
it ethical
idea.
to have children?
Not even from a anti-natalism type thing, right? I mean, the idea of are you there's a wonderful film one of my colleagues named Pooja wrote about this for Metro, the shoe brand, which tried to reframe the idea of a childless couple as a child-free couple, saying they have consciously decided to not have children, right? And that's very different from, thinking that you're doing it without that's normalizing that idea.
Yeah.
But even amongst people in their 30s right now, the jury is split on whether, should this not, whatever. I'm pretty sure 10 years ago, all of us were most of us were on a similar page about saying, hey, no, man, kids all know whatever, right? Things change for different people as they grow up. So my only worry is, I think it's, from a marketer's perspective, it's a little lazy to talk to generations as a whole, because you're not doing the hard work of looking at people as people. And you can mentally picture a 19-year-old and be like, okay, cool, this 19-year-old man, woman, whoever, think about them deeply, create work for them, rather than go on second-hand experience of groupthink signals. You might end up in the same place, you might even end up in a better place if you were to look at people as individuals rather than as crowds.
Got it.
And I think the idea of generation, I mean, if you were to mentally picture a generation, what are you saying? Like 100 people standing in some, it's not Can you think of how many things those 100 people would disagree on amongst each other as well? So I think it's a slight on individuality, and purchase decisions are made as individuals. You pay your own money, I pay my own money. It's not like we share and buy something. Therefore, we have a responsibility to look at individuals as individuals and not as groups.
Yeah. So what do you typically, I'm sure you get clients who the brief or like a big part of what they want is like, we want a fresh, young, Gen Z relatability vibe.
That's fine.
So how do you communicate that to them?
I don't think we need to debate the theory of it. I think we all know what we're going for. I think it's just in the process of the work itself. You need to have the discipline to look at people as people and not, think that they're a book and you just have a checklist of 4 things and it happens. Right? I think that's kind of where which is why it's a lazy person's cheat code to think generationally alone. There's nothing wrong with it, and I think if a client were to tell us that, okay, cool, I'm talking, yeah, sure, cool, no problem. It's just that when we are doing our thinking from our end, we need to go a little deeper than that.
Got
That's
it. Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. So, moving forward, since we're not necessarily sticking to the Gen Z, V, millennial kind of like rhetoric, right? I'd say generally, open to both of you, what is a surprising agreement or a moment of agreement you've had working with someone much older than you?
Okay. Recently, as part of my summer internship with the organization that I'm with, I think the whole concept of streamlining things, right? Like, I always thought that, and I've also experienced this because I used to work in another organization before I did my MBA, is that what the older people, they want to do in an organization is sort of overcomplicate things. And recently I've had the opposite experience. So I sort of realized that there are people who believe extremely in efficiency, and they want to streamline things, and they want to break through the clutter. And that was surprising for me because of a certain experience that I had in the past, and made me look at things differently. Again, similar to what he said about you have to look at people like people, and I think that was something different for me, and that was a good experience.
Damn, I come across as a very bad person if I don't have an answer to this. But yeah, the younger people, there are lots of examples to it. I think honestly, the industry that we have inherited right now from those who are much more senior to us, it's rife with problems, and a lot of the problems are problems that our seniors created a little bit, right? So I'm not happy about the problems that they've created and left us to deal with a little bit. But deal with it we will, because we really love this industry, so we will deal with it. I think a lot of the talent experience, or the less than ideal talent experience in advertising, is a problem created by people of generation senior to mine a little bit. I don't think my generation created that problem. We have inherited that problem, and us and people younger than us, because it is our industry now, it's ours to fix, basically, in a way. I am quite grateful to people who are the ones who are older than me or senior than me, etc., who are not cynics. I think it's very hard to not be because honestly I think it's a group of let's say if people in their 50s talking together, in a very status quo powers that be type way, the tone of those conversations more often than not is very cynical. And therefore, to genuinely be an optimist while you're into your late 40s, 50s, etc. over here, I think it's definitely worth respect. And the few folks who I do respect from that generation none of them are cynics, and none of them are saying, this is the only way it can be done, this is how it's always been done. That's when I tune out a little bit. So, and in a way, people who I guess take younger people seriously, And I think, I mean, someone who's, let's say I'm 34 now, so someone 10 years younger than me might expect that of me. I expect the same from someone who's 45.
Yeah,
Right? So,
makes sense. Is there a particular, I mean, you can choose not to answer that, but is there a particular problem that you think older generations at the industry have created that you feel you have to like confront in your day to day?
oh, all the problems. All the problems. What did, like, all of it?
Like what?
All of it. What's wrong with advertising today?
So I'm not, an
Okay,
advertising
sure.
veteran,
In
but
general,
yeah,
what's wrong with the industry today? Just think about, I mean, from what you've heard, etc., the general perception of our industry.
So, I mean, just from my personal experience, right? Like, I did media and communication, and my last, like, your specialization in your last year, we had this brilliant, like, 2 advertising teachers. And so I was like, cool, this makes sense to me, right? Like, seeing their passion. When I was kind of making that decision towards the end of college, I was like, cool, I'll enter advertising. And my brother, who's worked in startups, like, I spoke to him and I was like, this is what I'm thinking of getting into. And he was like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is not what you should do. Because in the startup he was working in, he was like, see, this is the kind of work I do. Several layers below me, layers in terms of people who have agency, who actually drive, like, the values in a startup. Much, much lower in that agency are the advertising people, or like, the agency who works in this thing. So he just kind of laid it out to me in that way because I have exposure to startups, and he was like, do you want to be in a space where you feel like you have to pay your dues for many, many, many years for anyone to take you seriously or, like consider your ideas? Or do you want to break through that and find an unconventional role, like, in the startup space? And when he laid that out for me, I was like, he's being very cynical, whatever, but I ended up doing like, I started working in podcasts for the Ken and everything. But yeah, then I saw my like classmates who went into advertising slowly get more and more jaded, like as every month went on, and go through everything that my brother explained to me, right? So I think the biggest thing there is just you have to pay your dues in this certain way, or it's like, people older than you are like, well, I got treated like shit when I was your age, so I will continue it. You must go through this rite of passage until someone takes you seriously. But this is like an outsider view, right? I never ended up working in advertising.
It's not wrong.
Yeah.
No, it's not wrong, yeah. So just to add to that, what the industry feels like right now, from like this more brief experience that I've spoken to my friends about during their internships, it's like it's a boiling lava, and you still need to sort of like, you need to swim through it, right? And you need to produce ideas, and you need to think about everything and get everything done, right? Like the hustle thing that we talk about, it's quite prevalent today also, especially in a city like Bombay that we were talking about, where there's this whole burden of doing good and producing something that's good. There's a lot of pressure for people who are just joining the industry, and I think it's unfair, and it's been passed down through years and years of that toxicity. It's a harsh word to use, but it is what it is. So I think that is something that is wrong. And there was a session I attended a while ago where there was this author that we were interacting with, and she said that creativity comes out of discipline, and discipline is a privilege. So the privilege to get up at a certain time in the morning, complete a routine so your mind is fresh and you have that space where you can create ideas and think about things from a different perspective. A city like Bombay to young people is unthinkable. You have to get up at like 7 o'clock, get ready, wo local lena hai. You have to get to work over there, you have to listen to someone talk about something that makes no sense and then get shouted at and all of that. Again, these are extreme things that I'm talking about. There are good experiences also, but I think the overall culture that has been passed down has been this, and it's still there.
I don't feel happy about this for tech's sake, but there are more industries today that share this infamous poster child title of being like the face of burnout, so to speak. And I think tech companies have their share in it. They have the lion's share in it almost. But advertising's business model itself is a little slightly lopsided, because it's not like so on one hand there is there's that part which is the potential of burnout, and secondly there is this constant thing of, okay, cool, like I don't think I'm being fairly compensated for how much whatever, right? So it's considering it's not like the Shangri-La of like VC love, etc., and it's not the way it needn't to be. That's not the way the industry is built overall. That has made the employee equation very lopsided. On one hand, I'm expected to probably work much longer hours, harder, etc. The other hand, the money aspect is also not kind of adding up.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are two of the problems. But your earlier question was, what kind of problems have we inherited, right? Ageism in the industry, sexism in the industry, burnout overall, the lack of our general looming irrelevance every time tech disruption hits, in housing as a threat. All of this are signs that could have been prevented by a much more serious approach by previous generations in advertising. I think there's been wonderful work. The industry has grown overall, all of that, but these are things that let's say my seniors have not fixed.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just wrap up with a quick rapid fire question, and then I'll let you guys go to enjoy the rest of Goa Fest. But first for you, Aditya, if you could go back in time to when you were in your first year of your career, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Like, it's all very tactical stuff. Like, you should have come up with this idea instead of this idea.
Yeah.
I mean, versus over that. I mean, no. I don't think I'll give myself any LinkedIn Gyan type stuff. It'll mostly be about some campaign, which could have
some specific decision. Yeah. Okay.
Some tactical, creative decision. Yeah.
And where would you hope to be 10 years from now in your career? I mean, I know it's a little hard to see, but in a broad sense.
So I personally would want to be settled in a well-established organization. My career trajectory looks like at 35, I want to be in a place where I'm not worried about my job anymore, and I'm maybe focusing on me, or if I have a family, I'm focusing on my family. I'm able to balance that. So I think that's what my career goal looks like. In terms of organization and work, it has to be meaningful, and the onus is on me to make it meaningful no matter where I am. So that's what it looks like right now. I don't have a specific industry or anything. I'm going to let the path take me where it takes me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there has to be a balance in work and personal life. So that's the goal.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think, I think my career trajectory isn't defined at all. So I've been like largely an independent creator, right? Working with some startups, working with some companies, but broadly I need to be the one who's recognizing what's new on the internet, like what do I align with. I think the only thing that helps in stability is money, right? I want to be in a place 10 years from now where I can be extremely picky with the kind of work I do and hold on to that, like, oh, I care about my work, and not become a cynic. I think other than that, I just hope that I don't get out of touch. Like, not in a less from a fear angle, but more from I hope I have as much like love and interest in what comes out of the internet as I do right now. I don't know if it's a young person thing or not, right? Like, I'll figure it out eventually. Like, I'm sure like 10 years from now, I'm going to be in the space where the next generation is pointing out cringy things from Gen Z. And that's fine. I'm okay with dealing with it as long as I still find things on the internet I enjoy. So that's a more abstract life thing. I just don't think there's anything in a career trajectory that I could predict or hope for otherwise. What's a marketing buzzword that you guys hate?
Buzzword.
The buzzword itself, that's very meta.
Yeah, that's great.
I think the whole thing about where even creators talk about how they're being authentic. I don't think it's a buzzword, but it's like a concept that's being
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
authenticity.
yeah.
It's a very
Authenticity.
Anna Wintour type answer.
yeah.
Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Journey
there's
is
like
a-
people who talk about how other people are doing something that's not, real, and they're
Yeah.
faking it and all of that, and I am very authentic. And there are people who do that. I think that is something as a practice. Let's not diss on people in the industry. Let
Yeah.
them do what they're doing.
Yeah.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Got it.
So, yeah.
What's an Indian brand that you would like to see be recognized in a global scale or be consumed on a global scale?
Talented.
Okay, fair enough.
I think daily objects, I would like them to be
Yeah.
global. They have really good products.
Yeah, they really do. Yes.
Yeah.
I have their wallet too. Yes, fully nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have really good products.
Okay, and so the last question, just to wrap up, while you're here at Goa Fest, what are you hoping to get out of here? Is it a meaningful connection, an idea, or just a burst of inspiration before you go back to your routines on Monday?
I think you can take that first.
No, this was nice. I didn't expect. I think this format is quite nice. And I'm flying out in the next few hours though.
Okay.
But and I didn't know I was doing this morning. So I've already gotten something more out of Goa Fest than I had planned for. So yeah, thank you for
I'm
this.
glad. Yeah. What are you looking for?
Like I said in the beginning, I think I want to understand what's out there in the industry waiting for us once we get out. Like we have another year of studying to do, but I want to understand what's new that can be done, and if that's a career trajectory that I want to take, and that is like if it's available to us, right? So I think a lot of conversations on AI, how it's being used externally, internally, all of those
Right.
things are quite interesting. And yeah, I hope that's something that I can take out of this.
Great. Thank you guys for giving us your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your time here.
Thank you.